Folks, it's 4 p.m. on the Ides of March. Jughead Jones is fucking dead and it's time to party.
And I'm here too.
Welcome to Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die.
Not a threat.
Not a threat. It's just a fact. Henry Kissinger, does he still go to, like, international conferences? I feel like he still does.
Yeah, probably. God,
that is where every single politician has gotten coronavirus so far. Has been just, like, going to these, like, ghoul conferences where they discuss
their... better ghouls.
Well, yeah, they discuss the ghoul things.
It's ghoul school. I shouldn't say ghoul school, because that is me coming down pretty harshly on Monster High.
Yeah, no, we can't be mean to Monster High.
We love Monster High here. Anyways, I'm Sarah, and I'm going the social distance. I'm going the social speed, and I'm all alone in my time of need. Nice. Thank you.
I'm Matt, aka Volcoronavirus.
Nice.
Volcoronavirus is very weak to rock.
If two guys were on the moon and one of them killed the other one with a rock because he had coronavirus, would that be super effective or what?
It would. So, hey, we got our first coronavirus case in the Whitby, Oshawa area today.
Nice. Rochester had one on, Rochester had one, actually Monroe County had one recently because the guy went to Italy, then flew back to New York City, and then took a Greyhound bus for 8 hours.
Oh, good.
But he lied at first and said his girlfriend drove him while he stayed in the trunk of the car.
Normal.
To avoid contagion.
Yeah, that's believable.
Yeah. And then the school teacher was found. I think the school teacher was found to have one. So we're all just being very regular and indoors over here.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole thing here. I've been to a couple of grocery stores and they're all out of toilet paper. Costco is out of toilet paper at literally 5 a.m. Oh, sorry, not 5 a.m. 5 minutes after opening.
Yeah.
But as someone who works at a gym, I feel like it's just, like, inevitable for me to get it, and my gym is explicitly not closing unless either the health department says we have to close, or the mall that we are in decides to close. Those are the only two scenarios in which my gym will not be open. It's a 24-hour gym, so germ time.
Germ time.
Yeah, and just gonna pop a quick. Yeah.
Ooh, grip it and rip it. What are you slurping on?
It's a Mill Street Organic. It's what I always drink.
Ah, the classic. I haven't had a beer, but I have been just getting stoned out of my fucking mind all 24/7.
Yeah, that's valid. I unfortunately do still have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I've just been kind of vibing. My job doesn't start for another week. They're not testing me, thankfully, so I've really just been kind of vibing at home.
Yeah, and that's basically the news has been almost entirely coronavirus-related stuff, which I'm sure is great for Joe Biden, who is going to have his head explode during a debate later today, which we briefly considered recording after to, actually have some news, but the election is exhausting. It's just exhausting. The election's
exhausting, and the only salve to my brain is the idea of future. The idea of Bernie just using his spirit burn to nuke Biden, to just turn Biden into YamchaCrater.png, and I'm sure I'm gonna get.
I would love to. Does anyone have like a good photo of the back of Biden's head so we could make YamchaCrater.png, but with the back of Biden's head on it?
I'm gonna post that, and then within the next 48 hours, Bernie Sanders will have to apologize publicly for me posting that.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you gotta love how that goes.
Okay, not on the topic of coronavirus, but can we talk about how like Bernie or Biden just told like some construction worker to his face, "You're a piece of shit and lying, and I will slap you," and no one really seemed to care.
Yeah, and then former Warren supporters will be online like mocking people who need insulin. Because, she kind of backed off the stronger portions of Medicare for all, and still has not endorsed anyone at this point.
I'm sure, I know this is, I don't even want to talk about Warren at this point, it's just...
She wants to run in 2024. I feel like that's what it all comes down to.
Hey, sure. If she comes back in 2024, I will be less enthusiastically supporting. But I mean, she'll still probably be my second. She'll still probably be if Bernard. Or
Bernard will not. There's no fucking way Bernard's going to run again, unless he wins.
Unless he runs as the incumbent, yes.
Yes, unless he's running as the incumbent. That is the only way that's going to work. But I don't see him being able to hold momentum. I do hope that as I've said before, I hope any movements that have built up around him would be able to continue supporting other candidates. Yeah. But I don't think the man himself will be able to do it again.
Yeah. Did you see the thing that Biden was like videoed after, shortly after that thing where he called the construction worker a piece of shit and said he was going to slap him?
Yeah, and he was like, interesting to see Bernie siding with Trump on this one, and it was like completely unrelated.
It's so obviously we're not going to get into the thing of like speculating exactly what his mental health is or anything or any of that stuff, but like something is like he is very obviously not all he's not 100%, and people are just acting like it's fine. And then you've been hearing this from every angle probably. By the time as soon as the general hits, if Biden gets the lock for the candidacy, the media is going to turn against him exactly. And people are... It's so funny to see the libs calling the Hunter Biden thing a but her emails. Like, but her emails didn't literally cause... Like,
it literally worked!
Yeah, it literally worked. And the thing is that also drives me nuts is that but her emails was also like... Her emails had some really bad shit in there.
Uh-huh. Like, they explicitly proved that she was colluding with the DNC.
Yeah,
to rig the nomination. But, and the even better part is, the specific timing of butthurt emails is exactly when they're going to drop some kind of Hunter Biden probe. It'll be, 3 days before the election, because people don't have the memory to hold things in their head longer than that. If you drop something right before a primary, it fucking works. It worked for Biden on Super Tuesday when everyone endorsed him either the same day or the day before.
Do you think Neo Matrix got really upset when he started being able to see the lines of code?
I don't know. I think he thought it was kind of cool. I do believe he said whoa.
He did. Well, no, he said whoa when he watched Morpheus do it. He did not see the lines himself.
Right.
But then he stopped bullets. He did stop bullets with his brain. So maybe I can. Maybe
that's the next step.
Yeah, I can see the Matrix. I can see all the ones and zeros that go into this political election, and the next step will be standing in front of cops and just holding my hand up and praying that it stops the bullets.
Yeah, no, I mean, God, I wish I looked like 90s Keanu Reeves. That's a fucking look. Either 90s Keanu Reeves or 90s Carrie-Anne Moss.
Honestly, Keanu Reeves in that movie is just a lesbian.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves in that movie is literally just a lesbian.
God, you're so right. You're so right and so smart.
In the fourth Matrix movie, Carrie-Anne Moss will be playing Carrie-Anne Moss will be playing that role also, because Neo will have transed her gender and become a you know how the what is it? Was it the Smiths?
Like the Agent Smiths, the Hugo Weavings?
not the band.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you remember when Hugo Weaving sang "There is a light that will never go out"?
I mean, yeah, let's replace Morrissey wherever possible.
Yeah, but that movie's just going to start with Trinity plunging her hand into Neo and just twinning herself.
Yeah, you have been transed.
Your gender has been trans.
Yeah,
it's the resistance.
It's just going to be explicit trans propaganda as opposed to explicit trans propaganda, which is what the original Matrix was.
The Matrix. I watched the Matrix for the first time in a long time recently, and it's so trans.
It's all there. I feel so sad that the studio made them change Switch, because Switch was supposed to just straight up change when they went into the Matrix.
Fuck that! Really?
Yeah, that was the original role of a character named Switch, and that's why the character was named Switch.
Fuck! They made them. That's fucking cowardice,
right? That would have been so good.
That would have been so good. Trans icon.
Yeah, exactly. What were we talking about again?
I don't fucking know. More about Joe Biden. Did you see that video of him yesterday on the live stream about coronavirus?
Yeah, I really, you gotta hand it to Bernie Sanders. He is able to have a live stream without getting confused and walking off the camera, and for that, he should probably be president.
like Joe Biden forgot what year it was. I don't even know how to make sense of what he said because it was basically like, I won't be able to do that for another year. No, 2 years from now in January. Yeah.
Yeah, as if the election is not in like precisely 6 months.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's still 6 months.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys do this. Like, it really just drives me mad how this is even possible. Like, when we had our election, that was the longest election campaign in Canadian history. It was 57 days. 57 days.
50. God, my kingdom for that.
Yeah.
What is it about U.S. U.S. elections that makes them...
The existence of primaries is one of them.
That's true.
Because everything is closed contest, which to me is fine. Like, party member, like it's like closed primaries, except they all vote on the same day, and you could do it online.
You can vote online?
Only for leadership elections.
But you can still vote online?
Yeah, I did. Well, I didn't vote for Jagmeet Singh, but I voted in that election.
Oh, that would be absolutely crazy if they did that. Instead, we just have to shutter fucking 50. How
it was a full third of the polling stations in Maricopa County.
Yeah, in Arizona. That was the he wasn't like a governor. He was somewhere in. Hold on, I'm gonna find the link so I can actually.
Right, the video, which I haven't actually watched yet, but I heard it described to me.
Okay, so the guy is the director, the election day director, and Scott Jarrett. Yeah, so Scott Jarrett gets up on stage. He's just like giving off some like bullshit things. It's like, okay, so we went down from 210 to 151 polling locations, but they're all poll wherever locations. So you can just go to whichever one you want. I'm sorry, I can't do this. And then just walks off camera.
I can't believe, like, poll anywhere locations are such a bad idea. Because all that's going to cause is, like, locations with, like kind of convenient locations will just get kind of flooded. Whereas, like, spreading your polling locations out demographically makes the most sense. And then you have, like, a specific polling station you have to, and traffic is controlled around those areas. Because there's not people, like, you know, crossing over parts of the city to get to different polling stations. I mean, I guess it's easier for people who have to go during work. But also, the polls should be open. How long are the polls open generally?
I think, when I was doing calling, I was just in a lot of locations that were, like, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. around that. Like, 12 hours, give or take. Okay,
ours were open for, like, 12, 13, sometimes 14 hours. So, same idea. Morning to night. Yeah, there's still chances to go in at that point. But, like, I'm not going to begrudge anyone who's not able to vote because of their job and transportation situation. But
yeah,
sometimes there is no excuse, but often there is.
Or also just straight up disenfranchisement. Because, again, we just had lines out the fucking ass at a bunch of locations that are Bernie aligned. In Super Tuesday 2, Super Tuesday 2.
Yeah, it's just Super Tuesday. Well, I mean, it's 2, because last week was Super Tuesday 2.
Yeah.
It's exponential. It'll be Super Tuesday 4 now if you multiply them together.
Super Four's Day, actually. You simplify across the.
Oh, true.
If you can.
But yeah, and then now, okay, so, like, coronavirus is going to impact people's ability to do primaries. Louisiana is the only state that's been reasonable, because they just said, we're not doing a primary this coming Tuesday now.
That's still, like, extremely terrifying, though. Just, like...
The idea that they can just turn off the primary?
Yeah.
But, like, moving it. They did announce a new date, I believe, somewhere in June.
Sure, yeah, that's good. That is good. That is good.
But, like, yeah, no one should be going to a crowded polling station. I mean, if, like, the polling stations were laid out properly, it was easier to get around, and people were...
Star just mentioned in the chat that, accessibility is also a limit. Like,
Yes.
I've only been to, like, 2 polling locations in my life, but the number of churches I have been to... And the number of places that I've been to where voting would probably happen that is just not accessible is, like, why are we still doing it?
It doesn't make sense that it would be at anything that isn't an accessible building. Like, I've worked elections and voted in elections, and they've all been... Every time I've voted has either been at a school or a Legion Hall, and they've all had, like, accessible doors, like, double wide, and then like people assisting to come through the doors. Like at my polling station, we had a person who was like outside to help anyone who needed assistance coming from like the bus stop or their cars. And then there was automatic doors that they could that we could have them we could open for them, just hitting a button. Like all that kind of stuff. Like it's all pretty easy. There was places to sit if they couldn't stand in line, although the lines were never longer than 4 people. I feel like I've just been harping on how like smoothly our elections run every time I've been on, but really, like, you could have this. You could have this.
God, oh, I wish.
Like this could be the reality, and that's something that I feel like really needs to be a huge push. Like any Democrat that's not explicitly working towards voter enfranchisement is like, I mean, most Democrats are worthless, but those are particularly worthless Democrats.
Yeah,
that has got to be the central party plank, is making elections easy and making elections accessible to as many people as possible.
It's just so, like, I don't want to say that, like, Americans are the most, like, poorly treated by their government of any country, because, I mean, we're probably up there, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
But, like,
you don't have that kind of prison population and not fall under that category.
Yeah, but, like, we are, like, the most bootlicking ass country, because, like...
Right. They're like, people can't vote and it's good. Whereas if people are prevented from voting in other countries, it's people can't vote and it's bad, and we need to send the U.S. military. Or
even just like the fact that we're like, well, I guess them's the breaks.
Yeah.
Bro, trudge off to work.
That's it. It's just like the irregularities between like exit polling and final results in like several states, the difficulty voting the long lines. Like, I don't want to get into all those things in specifics because it's just easier to go find a news source on all these things. But like, every single one of those things individually have been things that the U.S. has interfered in elections for. Yeah, like that, those have been used as justifications for coups within the last year, let alone like in general.
I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure I saw a thing that like said that the numbers that we're the discrepancy in numbers that we're throwing up is similar to the ones that similar to the discrepancies that we oh my god, Maduro, Bolivia,
yeah,
the ones that we helped Bolivia coup with.
Yeah, the difference with Bolivia is that it was the difference between something called a first count and the final count. Whereas, like, the first count is a count that's explicitly supposed to stop once the final counts have come in, and is literally just there to help move the discussion along. Yeah. I mean, it seems like a stupid thing that's only possible use is as, like, a bludgeon. Both true, either for or against who's winning.
No, I don't disagree, but at the same time, it's like, what that just sounds like exit polls to me.
It's exit polls, except they are using the actual ballots is the idea, I think.
So it's more accurate than exit polls.
Yes. It seems very weird. I mean, I feel like polling in general is something that has been used to push media narrative more than anything else. Like, true. That is its only real purpose.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so in polling's corner on this one.
Yeah, no, it's not great to see.
I'm in the pocket of big polling.
Yeah. So
I love it when you call me big polling.
Nice.
Thank you.
One thing that that people have been seeing is like the idea that if there's primaries that are still going on Tuesday, that there's going to be pretty depressed turnout for people who aren't willing to go out, or people who are going out are going to be, disease vectors, especially with overcrowded polling stations.
Yeah.
Which like are gatherings of enough people that they provoke substantial risk.
Right. Okay. If you don't know the answer to this question, I'll cut it, but this is possibly a stupid question also. I see a lot of people advocating for mail-in ballots, which I would also be an advocate of, but like there's a thing going off in my head that's like, does the disease not survive the mail?
I'm not sure how long its like outside of body incubation is, but I don't think it's that great. Like it's primarily a person-to-person transfer.
Oh, okay.
So, immediate sanitization of surfaces is something that you could do to prevent, like, transmission through those surfaces. But, like, that's generally because for certain things that a lot of people are going to be touching. And I feel like the mail spends enough time idle that it's probably not I wouldn't say never. Like, it's always good to practice, like, general sanitation over pretty much anything.
Okay, thank you for answering that, because that was a question that I had, because I have in my mind the picture of this season 2 episode, no, not season 2, like season 4 or 5 episode of NCIS, where someone opens a letter, and they blow out, they do that thing where, like, they cut open the end, and, like, they blow on it for some reason to, like, split it, and just anthrax flies everywhere.
Well, again, anthrax is a very different thing.
Right, of course it is, but, like, that's just what's in my head every time I think of mail during a time of disease.
Yeah. Mail-in ballots are a great thing to have. It's like postal banking. Anything that, like, you can use the existing infrastructure of the mail to make a civil service better is generally going to be a good idea. Especially, like Canada Post used to have postal banking, and it was making money, but it was still shut down, essentially, because the banks wanted it to be. I think that there's just Happy Weed Minute.
Happy Weed Minute.
I gotta take my Weed Minute snap, so...
Happy Weed Minute!
Happy Weed Minute!
Thank you, Steph.
I can't believe I'm sending Brooks a picture of a beer. There we go. The Weed Minute has been done. But yeah, no, anything that makes a civil service easier to run is how it should be.
Yeah.
And, like, I mean, again, as I said last week, the idea of doing anything without... The idea of voting machines in general makes no fucking sense to me, because we did paper ballots at the election I worked, and the count was done within an hour. You could just do this. Also, like, the lines to vote are so wild to me. It's like, it doesn't take that long for a person to vote. Like, the process is basically, like, I'll just give you, like, the chain of events that happens at a polling station like the one I worked. So,
before you get into that, I just want to say, even paper ballots paper ballots would not have helped, paper ballots would have helped in this case, but in this case, so per a quote from an article, hold on, let me just, a TDMS research article, Sanders underperformed his exit poll projected proportions by 15.4%. Sanders received 105,000 less votes than projected, while others, mainly Biden and Bloomberg, received 111,000 more than projected by the exit poll. Of concern is Michigan's destruction of the ballot images that could have been used to greatly facilitate a recount that were created by the scanners for their counts. This destruction appears to violate both state and federal laws.
Oh, see, that's one spot where it gets you. They, like, scan those into a machine that does counts for them. Right? Like, that's how the ballots work there?
I had it coming. I thought it was coming the other way, where it was like this is just like these are created by the scanners, like after images of the voting thing that, like, you could pull up and just, like, look at images of
each ballot.
Yeah, does that make sense?
I guess, but here I'll walk you through the process here. So you walk in. You talk to the person who comes in, who's at the door. They're basically like a greeter. They see if you have, like, the required ID, which is pretty simple amounts of ID. Some things that you could bring, like, include, like, a passport, a driver's license. I think a health card is acceptable for the case of voting. It's not usually a good first piece. You could have, like, a bill with your name on it, as long as you have a second piece that has like a picture of you. Okay. So basically, if you don't have the required amount of ID, you came to my table. My table, basically, you could check your address against the voting records to see if you're at the right polling station, or I could just confirm that they're on the voting roll based on ID that they might have on their person. Then you go towards the voting table. They strike your name off the list if they have you on the list, or if they had to register with me, they hand over the registration form and are handed a ballot. Once they fill in the ballot, they put it in a box. Once the ballots are all in the box, at the end of the day, we take the ballot box and we flip it over on a table. There are election observers from each of the parties that supervise the counts, as well as election poll workers like myself who decide to stay around for the counts. The people in charge of the counts are the people who actually, like, took the ballots over at the ballot box, which is a specific job. Once the counting is done on, like, this big-ass spreadsheet that has, like, the lists of the candidates, and you mark an X for each one that's done. It's just tally. And one person is reading out the ballot, so they'll say, vote for, like, Sanders, Biden, Sanders, and a tally is marked each time, and then the number of tallies is checked against the total number of ballots that were received at that station, which has been counted by the person receiving the ballots. if there's a miscount, if it seems like there's a ballot missing, we just do it again. And we actually did end up having to count like 3 or 4 times because there was a discrepancy caused by them writing down their... we were off by the exact amount of registration forms I did, which was 11. So they were putting those in the wrong column, and that's the only reason the count was wrong. But like it's checked over like 3 times. We were gone.
That sounds too simple. Have you considered maybe
hiring shadow?
Have you considered the voting booth goes sideways, or maybe that votes are florps now?
So anyway, we were done at 10:30, which was an hour after polls closed.
That's fucking wild.
And like
they're just checking.
They're just checking. Like, and even then, like if you needed to do a recounts, essentially everything is there's a different central polling station that takes the early ballots, and those spots only actually count their ballots on the night of, so they have a couple of extra counters there, and then each of the voting locations submits their totals towards the the central counting. And this is done by like the single poll supervisor that's like the person who runs that station. And like which is worth mentioning, all these people are nonpartisan. Like these are all of these elections are run by like a government body, which is like funded directly by the Election Commission, which is funded by the federal government. But nonetheless, it is all run by people who are hired to do this specifically. Sometimes they're repeat people. Like my dad's worked like 3 or 4 elections now. But like these aren't like party figures.
He's earned his extended stay in island time.
Oh my god, my dad is extremely on island time. He literally, like, they can't fly out of Manila right now, and he happens to just be on a Philippine island. He's like, yeah, I'm literally just chilling, bro. I'm fucking vibing. And I wish that were me.
Vibing.
I mean, because, like, okay, let's say, like, he rushed to come home as soon as possible because of the pandemic. Because of where he's been, he has to self-isolate for 2 weeks anyway. So he might as well just fucking vibe.
Hold on, there might be some breaking news. Hold on. Okay, so Mr. Joe Vibin is out here. Apparently, he's means testing. He's means testing free college now. He said, "Okay, I want free college, but means test it."
Yeah, I mean that's the easiest point to strike back on, because like,
yeah.
I mean, people are dumb and will fall for the why do you want millionaires' kids to go to college argument every time. And it's like, yeah, those kids, they don't want to go to public colleges.
No, they don't.
And that's really the easiest way to strike back on that. But yeah, long and short with elections is that I keep almost coming to this point, but then getting distracted. The turnout most likely to be depressed by the COVID-19 outbreak is the elder population, which primarily and overwhelmingly votes for Biden. But funny, leftists don't see that as a good thing because they don't like the idea of depressing voter turnout. Who'da thunk it?
He's Joe Vibin.
Yeah, it's like every single person I've seen is like all these places should cancel their primaries, whereas like if this were a demographic, like if this was a demographic change that would be like that would be positive towards Biden, the Democrats would just be like, oh yeah, full fucking steam ahead, let's go. They would take it as an opportunity because they're nothing but coward opportunists.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But like, yeah, like none of these primaries should be happening, but hey, maybe something nice will happen and like the depressed turnout will actually be helpful. But who knows, with all the closed polling stations, like it's not likely.
That'd be really nice.
I mean, plus, like, the other group that is going to be generally knocked down by this are people who are, like, you know, disabled or immunocompromised, are, like, not going to fucking risk going to the polling station, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
And that is a block that's generally going to go for Sanders.
Yeah, oh my god, this is so distressing.
Yeah, like, it's just everything that has happened around this pandemic, like the fucking profiteering, like the ridiculous, like, multi-tier healthcare system bullshit that everyone's having to go through, like the environmental impacts of everything even. Like, all these things are such, like, huge arguments that are useful towards, like, free Medicare for all, and a Green New Deal. And I'm just really hoping that Bernie's messaging can stick that message. Because, like, all of this would be better if, like, Bernie Sanders won in 2016. Like, all of it would. It would be so much easier to manage because...
What's that Onion headline? Climate scientists warn of a better world if we're wrong about climate and we make these changes anyways?
Onion article, but also just general point of satire. It's like, okay, we spend all this money to make the air cleaner and our water cleaner, and we have a nicer, healthier environment, and it turns out climate change is fake. Well, all we got was this healthier, cleaner environment and better air. Like,
but it was so much money, though.
It hurt. It made the money sad. Hey.
Oh, can we talk? Speaking of making the money sad, I know where you're going. Go for it.
I was about to go for it, but like, hey, I know like it's a little more complicated based on like we had someone explain the actual like math of how like injecting money into the stock market works differently than giving money to, working class people, and it is actually like pretty much illegal to just give direct cash help to people, but pumping money into the stock market is actually just an easy, legal, and like likely thing to happen whenever there's problems. Like, all of that aside, hey, remember how they put $1.5 trillion into bond markets and then it evaporated within 30 minutes?
I've been saying this line a lot, so forgive me if you've heard this one from me earlier this week, but I feel for people who have a 401k that's hurting off this. I really do. Like, my parents are one of these people. My parents are... Like, I went to see my parents earlier this week, and my dad seemed like actually pretty worried about, like, his retirement and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly do feel for people who are losing on this 401k and everything. But seeing the original fake money, Bitcoin 1.0, seeing it all just come crashing down in real time,
it's kind of nice.
It's liberating.
As someone with absolutely zero investments, I do kind of love to see it.
When the stock markets win, I historically lose.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all very dumb. Hey, what if instead... I mean, like, I know that pension plans also do generally involve investments, but given that they're also something that's, like, paid into... Imagine if people had more pensions instead of 401ks and had if they had retirement plans that weren't 100% reliant on the stock market to function. What if that instead of what we have now? Like,
yeah, like my parents are already not going to retire, and like my family is like I make them sound like they're really hard off. They're not. My parents are actually pretty okay. My dad pulls 6 figures at his job.
Yeah.
But, like, even that, like, he's still going to have to work into, like, his 70s and possibly later in order to actually someday have a shot of retiring.
Yeah. Whereas, like, yeah, my dad is extremely retired, as you might have guessed from us talking about him being on an island earlier. And that is because the Ontario Teachers' Pension Plan is very good. And that's the dream.
Speaking of government money... Nancy Pelosi's here. She's yas-queening her way across the Senate floor after Republicans denied a bill that would allow I don't remember the exact thing that they shut down, but it was just basically like sick leave and such.
It was an expansion of sick leave and stuff, and then they made a bunch of concessions on it.
Yep, they made a bunch of concessions, which made it so that eventually about 20% of the working public were actually covered by it.
So you have to have more than 50 employees, but less than 500, and that particular area of the working public happens to cover 20% of workers.
Yep.
Did you know that fucking like 500,000 people are employed by McDonald's? Because that's a bonkers number.
500,000?
Yeah. So like. All these, like, big businesses don't have to do anything at all. It was really funny. Tim Hortons got called out pretty huge because a lot of people were sent home with notices that were like, you don't get paid sick time. If you have to skip work, you get 5 of these a year, and you need a doctor's note. And then Tim Hortons had to, like, release a statement being like, we do not require doctor's notes. But when pushed by Press Progress about it, it turned out that policy was only enacted after the bad press. Because they always have historically required doctor's notes. Thing about Tim Hortons that's always really interesting to people is that it is primarily franchise. It's franchises, and they're like the overpower of like the corporate is a lot. They don't really look at how people run their business, about how the franchisees run their business, as long as it's turning a profit. So like abuse by the people who own the franchises is like rampant. because they don't give a shit as long as they hit their numbers, right?
Yeah.
And corporate generally just doesn't do jack shit about it.
Like, even as someone who has been, like, staunchly, at the very least, anti-capitalist for the last, like, 5-6 years of my life, these last 2 weeks have just been so depressing. Like, just, like, I've known all of this, but, like, to see it laid so bare, like, so to see that the government can just say, hey, medicine, like, to just see that it has not been done, but the fact that it's been floated, that, like, people are pushing the government to just say, hey, medicine for everyone.
Yeah.
Like...
Or, like, another thing is a bunch of telecoms took off their data caps.
Yeah!
And suddenly, like, they're not going insolvent because of this. Oh, it almost seems like you never fucking needed that and you're just price gouging the whole time. Like, people, like, desperately trying to keep their business is showing how many of the things that they claim are essential are absolutely not. Like, it's like, it's mask off, but in kind of a different way. Like, it's like them showing that the evil that they usually do isn't necessary. By, like, showing some kind of benevolence now. And I'm really glad that people are really calling people out. Like, of course you're going to get the fawning pieces being, like, these brave companies doing these things. But, like, the vast majority of stuff I've seen, both within my bubble and without, has been, like, oh, so you didn't need these things, huh? I feel like there's been, like, a really large amount of consciousness about how much people are just getting fucked in general. That's being laid really bare by stuff around the the COVID-19 outbreak.
Yeah, like the Republicans are just running are somehow running left of the Dems on this. Like the governor of Ohio, I believe, this is like just breaking. Mike DeWine, who's a Republican, also DeWine's a great last name.
It's pretty good.
Governor Mike DeWine is shutting down the state's bars and restaurants effective at 9 p.m. Takeout and delivery okay. So that's just expected standard response. But here's him running left of the Democrats. DeWine will also expedite unemployment benefits, allow people without paid sick leave to use unemployment. Bad precedent. I don't like the precedent that sets, but it's better than nothing on this one.
Yeah.
People who are quarantined will not be subject to unemployment requirements to look for work, and state will allow bar owners to return unopened liquor.
Hell yeah. These are all good things.
Like, using unemployment for sick leave is that's a really jerry-rigged way around this. Right. Okay, so your boss will not pay you sick leave, but the government will give you it's not sick leave, it's unemployment leave. But it's actually,
you know what, now that I think about it, that's really kind of just taking the onus off the businesses to support their own workers. Which is kind of how I've always felt about, like, any kind of program like a UBI that's a supplement, is that it kind of takes the teeth out of like worker protections. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah. Oh god, do you have anything else to bring up before? Let me see if there's anything else worth hooting and hollering about.
Oh god, I just haven't been following Canadian politics this week, so I can't bring that as I usually do.
Oh yeah, how's the do you have anything about the Wet'suwet'en?
I sure fucking don't. I just have not been following anything. Although I do want to bring one point of order, which is that when there was the H1N1 outbreak, instead of sending, like, cleaning and medical supplies to reserves, the RCMP sent body bags.
Yeah. Absolutely fucking ghoulish.
So, given, like, improper water conditions and a lot of close proximity and a lot of poverty, reserves are, like, a huge place where COVID-19 can cause a lot of damage. And if you are looking for people to support during this epidemic, try to find some fundraisers that are specifically trying to get water and medical supplies to reserves, both in Canada and the US, because they have very similar problems. Especially, like, places that don't have clean water can't exactly wash their hands. And that's something that...
Oh my god.
And there are so many places that are still under boil water advisories, so that this is, like, a huge thing that you gotta consider around this kind of outbreak, is how people with, less well off than you, marginalized people, are going to be affected by it at such a huge margin.
So I guess that's a real bit of a downer to head out of the show on. But so before that, Matt, what are you I'm doing the Democrat thing where I'm going to end up what should be with a hardball question. I'm instead going to ask what your favorite book is, but instead I'm going to ask Matt, what are you doing to just vibe during this social distancing period?
I mean, I've been still going to work. We were planning on going to Toronto maybe yesterday for Steph's birthday, but we ended up just having a couple of people over, a small gathering of folks, and watch some movies.
That sounds nice.
I'm mostly just gonna stay in and play Pokemon during my off time, but that's what I do anyway. The thing is that social distancing is almost hey, everyone gets to live how we live now.
Yeah,
we're a bunch of internet weirdos. We're usually just online and not exactly close to people at all times.
Yeah, exactly.
This is just kind of how I do.
Jeff Rosenstock voice. I'm getting very high because no one is around. Because I'm enacting social distancing for now.
Exactly. I'm just I'm hoping to get some more podcasting done now that some people are less busy. Because anyone who's actually has a work from home setup and is able to be home at hours that they wouldn't normally be home, hey, let's get some fucking podcasting done. If anyone's listening and I've said that I'll be on a podcast with you, fucking let me know. I'll do it.
Speaking of podcasting, the things are going to be probably, we're looking at the schedule for this because we know we've had those two, a couple of weeks recently where we weren't able to get a crew together, to get an episode done. And we are going to be taking this to not, we're still working this out. I would expect episodes every 2 weeks.
It's either bi-weekly or we're gonna regularly be expecting 2 a month instead of 4. However that lays out.
Yeah, however it shakes out.
It depends on the news cycle for one.
Yeah,
because that's a big one.
This might not take effect immediately because if we're able to get people, especially people who are not as available, if we're able to find something to get them on because of the quarantine state, we will if we had the opportunity to put out an episode, we will put out an episode. But
yeah.
I would expect to do. We're dropping back to every other week because I feel like I would rather try and plan for every other week than plan for every week and then have to
only be doing every other week.
Disappointedly announce to everyone that we're not going to be able to make it.
Yeah, another consideration, which is of more note to the patrons than anyone else, is to switch our Patreon from monthly to an episodic basis. Because that puts a lot less. We'd have to change the tiers around, so we'll definitely put out a poll on the Patreon about something like this as to how that would shake out. Because that would put we would have a lot less pressure to put out episodes in a way that fits a formal schedule. And we're unlikely. Let's say we changed it to charge out once an episode, we would probably have it so that if we actually did 4 in a month, we would be charging slightly more, but since that's so unlikely, it would almost certainly be less money to the patrons than it would be otherwise.
More information forthcoming.
Yeah. So, if you hear this and have opinions on it, just let us know on any social channels. Ideally, in the Discord, it would be the best spot to discuss this because it would be a good spot to actually have a discussion around it.
Yeah,
but let us know.
And also, if you don't want to flag this up into a big discussion thing, you can also just DM any of us.
Yeah.
Ka-ching!
Ka-ching!
I winked at the camera and it made that noise.
That's good. I'm glad that you have sound effect powers.
Yeah. I'm a Foley artist. So Matt, what are you recommending this? What's your Lightbringer this week?
Well, I mean, we were almost going to do a whole episode just kind of talk about the shit we're doing during quarantine, but we just that kind of didn't end up happening. We just watched the first episode of Place Further Than the Universe today.
Yes.
So I knew that you'd love to hear that because you were the one who recommended it.
I made a Faustian bargain. I made a Faustian bargain with girlfriend of the Matt, Stephanie, by which I mean I said that if she started watching A Place Further Than the Universe, I would start watching The Americans.
Which, that's a far larger commitment for you than it is for her.
Oh, absolutely. But the thing is, I just need momentum. Like, I would not be able to... If I had not seen Breaking Bad, I would not be able to watch Breaking Bad now unless I got, like, through those first however many episodes there are.
Yeah, that's so valid.
Anyways,
I just remember I did a
on.
similar Faustian bargain with someone, and I made her read all of Homestuck if I read all of Achewood. And that was also, like, a far better deal for me than it was for them.
Yeah. But anyways, go on. Talk about my favorite anime of all time.
We've only watched the first episode, but very many times Steph would just like look at the screen and go, "Gay."
It's really gay.
It's really gay is the thing. They sure blush while looking at each other a lot.
They do. Ugh, they're girlfriends.
And I super didn't even know that the show like involved Antarctica until I saw the literal subtitle of the show, which is a journey that ends at Antarctica, and I'm like, oh, that's why you kept mentioning penguins.
Yeah, it's a penguin show. My Lightbringer this week is going to be... I just also recommended this on Fear Baiting, so you might be hearing double. But my Lightbringer this week is going to be Welcome to Demon School Irumakun, which is an anime that I saw on the front page of Crunchyroll for the past, 20 or so weeks, the last couple of months, because it's been airing, and my eyes just glaze over whenever I look at it, because... With a name like Welcome to Demon School Irumakun and the kind of thumbnails they were showing me, I was just kind of expecting like some fan service-y, like Rosario plus vampire kind of shit. And it's like, and I mentioned Rosario plus vampire because it is pretty much that show, but with none of the horniness. And instead they replaced it all with just like being friends and like caring about people. Because
nice.
So the basic setup of the story is the titular Irumakun is a human boy whose parents are pieces of shit and work him to the bone and take advantage of his extremely kindly and giving nature. And the last act they do as his parents is they sell him to a demon for a lot of money. But luckily for him, the demon is a really doting grandfatherly type who adopts him as his grandson and spoils him and sends him to school and showers him with the love that his parents never gave him.
Fuck yes! I love that.
It's really, really fucking good.
Oh, that's so good.
It's really funny. It's really sweet. It's just been like something nice to like curl up with an episode or two and just like kind of vibe.
I need more shows that I could do that with. Like, I was really excited that Better Call Saul came back, but I literally cannot watch more than one of those in one sitting because it's too stressful. Yeah,
Irumakun you can just vibe through. I'd really recommend it. Once you're done with A Place Further Than the Universe, of course.
I'm gonna double the Lightbringer since I didn't talk about Place Further Than the Universe very much because it's just I'm not far up and in to discuss it. I want to make my Lightbringer Cats 1998. So like Cats 2019 is a very strange movie that made a lot of bad choices. If you want to see a stage production of the very good musical of Cats that instead makes good choices, you should try watching the 1998 version. Almost all the songs are available to watch on YouTube. Some of them are split into two parts, but like it's pretty much all there. We ended up getting a DVD of it. We don't actually have a DVD player, so we also downloaded it. And just like watched the whole thing end to end. It's just so fucking good. It's so good. In ways that like Cats 2019 is like weirdly uncomfortably horny, it's just positively, wonderfully horny instead. Like everyone's so horny in the whole show. And it's just so wonderful to watch. And there's such good performances from, like, every single actor there. Like, they're really, like, musical theater acting the whole time. And you don't have to deal with Rebel Wilson or James Corden.
God. I don't mind Rebel Wilson that much.
She's very bad in Cats, I can just tell you.
I'm sure she is. I have a level of hatred for James Corden much higher than I have for
That's
Rebel
so
Wilson.
valid. The thing about what Rebel Wilson is, it depends on how she's written.
You did just call her Rebel Wilson.
I did. But, like, okay, so, like, you know, like, how bad Rebel Wilson characters are all functionally the same character?
Yeah, just like how bad Megan McCarthy characters are all the same character.
Exactly. So, that is what she was in Cats. Which is, like, so unlike what the stage version of her character was. And, of course, like, the number of, like, fat jokes at both those characters' expenses went, like, way up in the 2019 version. Whereas, like, both cats are described as being, like, heavy-set cats in the original production, but, like, it's a good thing. They're like, this cat eats so fucking much, he's 25 pounds. We love him and think he's the most worthy cat of ascending to a further plane of existence. Because that is the plot of Cats, if you're unaware. It's a death cult.
They're a pair of big, it's a death cult. They're trying to ascend. Those two are big chungus.
Yeah, exactly. You got
it. Matt, do you want to take us home? I'm low on juice, and I have to save myself for editing.
Yeah, that's fine. Can you just get the patron list open? Because I know you like to do the patron list.
I do you got me there.
Okay, thank you for listening to Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. Not a threat, just a fact. You can find us online anywhere at HKIPGTD. That's Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. We also have a Reddit run by user Bisexual Punch Party. Thank you for setting that up. We'd like to thank the Taxpayers for the use of our theme song, Evil Men. And honestly, we don't do this enough. I'd like to thank Dr. Activisionary for our show art, because it is very good. We should do that more.
Just give me a second. Google is making me, Patreon's making me fucking jerk around to actually get into the... Okay, sorry, go on.
Yeah. I do need to set that to my phone number eventually, and not to whoever's phone number it's on right now.
Valid.
Because then, my phone's right here, so I'd be able to activate it for you. But, so if you like to support us, we do have a Patreon. Our tiers are $1, $5, and $10 right now. That $1 tier gets you all of our bonus content, and that includes pre-shows and post-shows and mid-shows and whatever other kind of stuff we want to put out on the Patreon. $5 gets you access to a secret role in our Discord called Comrade, and the ability to submit nicknames. I don't mention that channel a lot, but collectivized nicknames is there for the $5 and $10 patrons.
Yeah, if you think you can do anything better than going the social distance, going for speed, all alone in my time of need, if you think you can beat that, you're free to step.
The thing is I forget nicknames all the time, and I usually take one from that channel, so anything is appreciated. And the $10 patrons are our Conrads, and they are able to listen live in addition to all other perks. So that we have, I believe... Oh, we have 2 right now. I didn't notice that Shep joined. Hello. Hi, friends. Welcome. Welcome to podcast. And we got a list of our $5 and $10 donors right here.
Thank you very much too. There are 2 really good names that bookend bookend things.
Fuck yes.
Thank you too. Your Sapphic Minecraft bee wife. Burgermeister, Stephanie Ruff, Pregnant Seinfeld, David Besser, Alex Schaup, Patrick Van Brunt, Alex H, Jacob Sears, Neve Noel Williams, Wynn, Bryce, A Sexual Fish Tank, Ashinu, Alex Hoot, Maximilian Rower, Bryant, Nick Clarkson, Jane Wick, Destry Hawk, PR the Disaster, The Tallest Jew, Non-Binary with Left Beef, Summer Geist, Dijonais, Chaz Goblin, and Paul Blart Fleshcart.
God, yes. Never gonna get tired of hearing Paul Blart Fleshcart, I don't think.
Yeah.
It's just a really good one.
If you want to find me, I'm on some other noise-based podcasts, such as Fear Baiting, which is a horror movie podcast, and The Wonder Years, which is an Animorphs podcast that I do with friends of the show, Blair and Seda. And those are also graciously hosted under the Matt.GameCube, noise-based.xyz network. I can also be found on Twitter at SunhatGenya. I deleted Twitter off my phone a couple of days ago. Best decision I made in months.
Yeah, I don't seem to get the same stressors out of Twitter that everyone else does, but I think that's just because I don't look at it as much.
Yeah.
If I'm opening my phone or computer, I am generally just looking at Discord anyway, so I'm generally good to hang.
I even 5 days after it, I intentionally Twitter doesn't let you set. Sorry, not Twitter. iOS. So hold on, I need to fucking be mad about iOS. I hate iOS so fucking much. The little things that it won't let me do are so goddamn infuriating.
Couldn't be me. I've never had an iPhone.
I have a phone background that could definitely use black text on my phone or on the lock screen clock or outline or something, but it won't let me. This art that I have as my phone background, it would look a lot better if I could put the clock at the bottom of the screen. It won't let me. I don't want to cover up the cool art of mine and my girlfriend's personas on my phone, but the iPhone will not let me move my apps into a way that will expose our faces. It's so fucking stupid, and I hate this piece of shit technology. I cannot wait to get a new phone so I can get out of the iPhone. But anyways, I moved the giant bomb so that it wouldn't because Twitter is on the top left of my homepage. I'm kind of instinctively drawn to it, and so that I wouldn't accidentally open Telegram or something else that would have slid in, I slid the Giant Bomb app in there. So every time I go to Twitter, I just open Giant Bomb the app and I watch a bit of a video, and I'm like, oh, this is much better. I'm
Matt. You can find me on such noise-based podcasts as Tuning Fork, which recently put out an episode on Waves, King of the Beach. We make many landlord jokes within. I'm also on Giants Confirm, which is a run-through of the discography of They Might Be Giants, which is actually going to be putting up 2 episodes soon. One is going to be the recording about the album Factory Showroom that we did a couple of weeks ago, and then the other upload is going to be a bonus episode, which is our crossover with This Might Be a Podcast, where we talked about the song Sense Around, which is actually a bonus track off the Japanese edition, and was also on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers soundtrack.
2 things. One, when you get to join us, let me know, because that's like one of my favorite
albums.
You
know it.
Or Nanobots. I also love Nanobots.
It's good, because I feel like it'll be harder to get people in general for some of the later albums. Yeah. So that'd be a nice pull.
Yeah, I haven't kept up with their most recent stuff, but I should, because it's all good. Like,
nice.
And 2, we brought up They Might Be Giants came up on today's recording of Fear Rating because we watched Coraline.
Oh hell yeah! John Linnell plays the other father.
Sing specifically only singing voice, because otherwise he is played by John Hodgman.
He is still played by John Hodgman otherwise, yes.
But hearing John Linnell's, because I've been like trying to figure out why the father's voice sounded so familiar in the movie, and I couldn't peg it. And then I hear John Linnell's pipes belting out an impromptu song, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Did you bring up the fact that the movie was almost originally just fully scored by They Might Be Giants?
Fuck, was it really?
Yeah, they did a whole bunch of songs for it. Only one of them was ever released in any form. The song Careful What You Pack from the Else was originally written for Coraline, but they actually have not put, or at least have not said that they've put out any of the other stuff. They made a whole bunch of stuff for it, but it wasn't... I don't know if it was scored or if it was just going to be like the soundtrack in general, but they had originally made a lot of music for it.
Does that timeline line up? Coraline was 09 and the Else was 07.
I think it was pretty early in production.
Oh, okay. That's fair. But yeah, I think that's everything, right?
I think that's everything. So, thank you for listening to Henry Christopher's Pokemon Going to Die and Memento Pokemori.
Memento Pokemori.